What's happening, family? It is your man, CRB Jr., Courtney Brown Jr. We are back at it again. We are excited. We have a really special guest. Before we get started, we want to just remind you guys, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I want to thank everybody out there. The channel is growing rapidly. We do appreciate the support that we're getting, and as we promised you, we were going to start bringing you some more one-of-a-kind kind of content that only really the people here at Big Boss can do, due to our 40-year history, 50, 60-year history tied back when you talk about people like my main man, Uncle Butch, that's right here, and my father, and all the access that they go. But right now, today, this evening, of course, as you see, we got Tommy Sharp, a.k.a. Black Butch, a.k.a. the Black Dispatch, back in the house. What's happening, Unc? How you doing?
Everything's cool today.
And we have with us one of, I don't think it's an overstatement to say, one of the pioneers of the Detroit music era. This would be going back to the 60s, the 70s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, all the way through the 80s, and already still doing his thing to this day in 2021. He actually was heart and center, ground zero when the whole thing, that phenomenon that was known as the Motown era, Motown music, that it would go on. He crossed paths with all the people who basically became the Motown music and became the people who changed the face of music forever. He himself is, I believe, 4 times in different music categories Hall of Fame. Produced and sang on #1 hits from back in the day. Smiling Faces, #1 on the R&B chart in its day. Car Wash, #1 R&B in its day. And we are talking about the one and the only Joe Pep. How you doing today, Mr. Pep?
Right. Well, I'm hanging out here. I'm looking at my old view from downtown Detroit.
All right. I just want to say, we here at Big Boss, we are so pleased and honored. And thanks again, Uncle Butch, for putting this together. We've been trying to link up with you because, you know, obviously the title of the award-winning documentary we did was the Motown Mafia, but to get somebody like you and have a chance, somebody who was there, who saw, and as we were speaking off camera, that whole intersection between the music elite and the underworld street elite, and it just, you know, it was fascinating when we were just having a conversation off camera. That you were just so immersed in both. I mean, that your peer group, I mean, and so to give some background to people, you grew up where?
Detroit, then the Black Bottom, Brewster Projects.
Okay, so that's the same area where Eddie and all those guys had come up with. You were telling me, God rest his soul, that you and Huckabuck actually.
Yeah, Huckabuck and my mom, and we were all family related. You know, we had people in our families that were related to each other. In other words, I had a cousin that he had the same cousin because of my aunt and his uncle.
Okay, so those are just your people.
It's my people.
So I guess like everybody in that era, you didn't know that half the people that you were growing up with were all headed, that you and that crew were all headed to the Music Hall of Fame.
Had no idea.
And that you guys were headed towards having #1 hits.
I had no idea.
And that some of the guys that went the other way were going to end up becoming young black millionaires from their activities in the streets, right?
From the bottom, black bottom, to the top.
From black bottom to the top. Wow.
That's deep.
That's deep. That's deep.
You have to know about black bottom and know that's deep.
All right. 9 years old, you win an award. Tell us about it.
9 years old. I was junior high school, going into junior high school, getting ready to go to, we're preparing to go to junior high school. I was coming out of elementary school, and I had a little group back then called the Moroccos. Well, let me go back before the Moroccos. What had happened was, in the Brewster Projects, there was this theater right on the corner of Hastings and Benton, Erskine. Hastings and Erskine, called the Castle.
That's where it was.
Back in the day, in the 50s, they used to have live shows in between movies. And this one particular weekend, my mom and a bunch of her friends took me to one of those shows with them. And that night, it was a Little Willie John night. And Lord have mercy, when I saw that show, I knew what I wanted to do, and I was 10. I was getting ready to be 10. That next year, me and that same group won the first WCHB talent contest. I mean, with all the talent in the city, it was so many people that I'm finding out today that was a part of that, because I mean, people grew up and they had different names, different groups, and they were a part of that. Was brought on by the Department of Parks and Recreation, so it was all over the city, all summer. And at the end of the showdown, my group, the Spinners, and Willie Tyler Lester, that's how we ended up.
So you're talking about the Spinners as in the group that Felipe Wynn would become the lead singer for?
Later. After Motown. But we were all a part of Motown at the same time. The Spinners, Willie Tyler and Lester, and myself. The Spinners left and went to Philly. Okay. And Willie Tyler and Lester have always been Motown acts. And for those who don't know, Willie Tyler and Lester, in their day, the ventriloquist scene was huge. Huge, yes. And I mean, I guess the white version was Howdy Doody was the first ventriloquist that did big, but in our community, in our world, it was Willie Tyler and Lester. Yeah. I saw him, in fact, as I was telling you, as a child at the Apollo Theater. Right. Opening for James Brown. Yeah, that's right. To let you know how big a deal, they were. All right. Another group that has, of course, gone on that you were associated with, the Ohio Players. Tell us about that. Well, wow, we were stablemates. I was with the Peps, and we were with Don Davis at Thelma Records here in Detroit, and they were with a group called the Ohio Untouchables at that time. And in the beginning, they were released with the Falcons with a record called I Found a Love with Wilson Pickett. That was Wilson Pickett's first hit record. And one year, Don Davis and a bunch of folks from the record company, we went to Dayton. And we was down there for a weekend, and wow, what a band. Wow, what a band, what a band, what a band. The Honey album. That was later, right? That was later. That was after the... With Roller Coaster. That was after, because I ended up doing a lot of work with the Ohio Untouchables. And in fact, the last gig that we did together when that group broke up, I did the gig with them with Gene Chandler in Flint. And after that show, those guys never performed together again. Wow. And I stayed with Robert Ward for about 6 or 7 months. Plus, I was still working back and forth with the Peps, and then some solo things with myself with the Funk Brothers. And one year, Satch called me and said that they needed a singer, lead singer. So I was living in Toronto then, so I went to Dayton. Spent a whole 2 years in Dayton, working with when the Ohio Untouchables changed over to be the Ohio Players. Oh, is that a boat? Tugboat. Oh, well, you know, we do this live. We got a little boat. Well, we're looking at the Detroit River over there, and the noise coming down the river. Before we go back and get into something, you just had told us a fascinating story. You opened for 90 days for Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5s? 90 days. 90 days straight. When it was hard to do. And you guys made so much money that the IRS and the federal government, they came after you guys about that tour? We were making so much money, we were sending money home through the Western Union and all that kind of stuff, because, I mean, we was making money so fast, and then nobody wanted, some days somebody didn't want to get paid. And you guys were getting paid in cash? Yeah, well, I mean, back in the day. We get a voucher, get cash, get. Wow. So, I mean, that's the way it worked. Now, I mean, I guess it's easy to look back. Did you know then, I mean, obviously Jackson 5 were popular, but could you ever see where Michael would one day he would just rewrite the record books? Let me say it like this. I opened for Jackie Wilson with the Peps a long time ago. And Chuck Jackson and a few other folks, and I thought that I had opened for some of the best. Michael Jackson is a package. And when I say that, it's not just him singing, it's the everything, and he's the best that I've ever seen.
And you peeped that early.
Peeped it early.
So it actually did not surprise you.
Did not surprise me.
When,
the boy was bad.
The boy was bad. The boy was bad.
Pun intended.
Pun intended. Right?
Yeah.
All right, let's go back. When you come across, where do you and Uncle Butch and Tom Shop? How do y'all paths cross?
I was, we had Smiling Faces out. The Dramatics had What You See Is What You Get. And I used to see him coming and riding around town a lot. He used to have all these flat cars and stuff. I was like, dang, who he sang with? And we were in the 20 grand, and we were playing night after night. And then one night, him and his whole crew came in and caught a show. And they bought everybody drinks in the place. I mean, there was so many people. In fact, today...
Was Eddie with him?
Yeah.
The first time you saw Eddie Jackson?
Oh, no.
Oh, because you grew up.
I grew up. I come out of the Brewster Project. See, and all his crew was out of the Brewster Project.
Right.
But during that time, I had already went through my little changes. And I started trying to be somebody in school. And I saw my mom cry one time because some of her friends were saying, your son ain't gonna make 16. And I was seeing all my friends in the Brewster Project die or go to jail. So when I saw my mom cry, that was it for me. Because I mean, she was the only person in the world that would kick my ass at that time. That's how bad I thought I was. And I had to prove it. I had that little man, I was with Huckleberry.
Big Boss Filmworks and Big Boss Books presents Courtney Robert Brown Jr.'s follow-up to the book Motown Mafia. Motown Mafia, Big Man on Campus.
My internship was kind of in how the world of international finance and international criminal activities overlap.
Courtney Brown Sr. wanted Courtney to go to school to bring legitimacy to the family. But Courtney had other plans. While in college, with the help of his friends and his girlfriend, he starts and grows a successful drug operation.
5 minutes later, two agents, now I know they were agents, but at the time I see two guys go to the right, another two guys start walking towards me. They stop at my seat and they go, grab your bags, DEA, come with us. Needless to say, this is not the fun part of being an intern.
Courtney finds himself conflicted with his responsibility to running the family business and his obligation to his college studies. However, he'll have to make things work in his favor if he wants to remain the big man on campus. The names have been changed to protect the guilty and the innocent.
I'm taking economics and business 101 and marketing, and your economic teacher's telling you about a business plan and how you get a small business loan. And, it's kind of the hypocrisy of the world, because I'm like, that ain't how the real world works.